Wow, never thought I'd be back doing a review of this game. Fun fact, I was originally going to do one of Stranger's Wrath before I even had the right equipment. I scrapped that and said to myself, never again. But hey, here we are. Anyway, I think saying that I like this game is a little bit of an understatement. I absolutely love this game. Like, it's amazing and I just love coming back to it and playing it as if I never did before. My first time ever playing this game was on the first Xbox at my cousin's house, and I remember picking it up and just beating the ever-living shit out of the townspeople in the first town in the entire game. Never actually finishing it or getting anywhere near the end, let alone the halfway point. But you might be thinking, hey, isn't the best part about a game actually playing it to the fullest? But you also have to realize I was only a little itty bitty baby at the time, so I didn't even know what I was doing half the time in the game, let alone real life. This game is awesome, and once I saw that the HD version was out on the Switch, I immediately bought it, and it felt like a new experience all over again. And also a new experience in general, because like I said, I never ended up getting far in the game the first time I played it. So when I got past the first level, I was completely lost. But once I got my bearings, I could really see how much effort Oddworld inhabitants put into this game. And yeah, sure, the graphics do look kinda dated for the time we're in now, but regardless, you could really see the artistry and the effort that these people put into this game. Now enough of that, now it's actually time to dive into what this game is about. You play as a cowboy named Stranger. Really? That's the name we gave him? Stranger? Whatever. So you play as a guy named Stranger who is just one badass bounty hunter, hunting bounties and kicking ass like most bounty hunters. The whole reason you collect bounties is so you can get enough moolah to pay for a mysterious life-saving operation. You go from town to town fighting more and more enemies and gaining more moolah to buy upgrades. After you finish the last town in the game, New York City, we are introduced to the main villain of the game, Secto, a very well-known hunter who owns the dam that stops the water. After you ask him what the job is, he calls another person, D-Cast Raider. What are these names? Oh my god. To stop you from achieving your goal of finding the bounty that he wants, which is a Steve, a four-legged centaur-looking creature that's worth 20,000 moolah. Now once you finish that town, you make your way to the doctor's office, only to find that D-Cast Raider and his gang had hung the doctor. After you try and stay alive, the fighting stops, and D-Cast asks if he can make a deal with Stranger, only to then trick him and kidnap him. Stranger wakes up with a rope tied around him, struggling to break free. His important documents for the operation fall off him, and D-Cast picks them up and reads them. We find out later that Stranger is in fact a Steve, and was wanting his back legs to be removed so he can live a normal life. He's then saved and runs away to a ruined town of little frog people. I don't know the name of them. They tell him what to do and how to save the water, and Stranger doesn't need the surgery anymore, so he makes his way to Secto's place to kill him and release the water. And that's basically it. You can see how the game changes so much after you complete the first towns, and honestly, I didn't mind the change. It made the game more captivating and interesting to play. Okay, let's move on to the gameplay and graphics. If I were to be completely honest, I think that the controls were a little weird in a sense that they felt a little clunky. Like, when you try to aim with the right stick, it sometimes is very annoying. So I found myself resorting to moving the character into position instead of aiming. And yeah, sure, you could use the gyro aiming, but that depends on your steadiness of your hands and the position you put the controller in before selecting that setting. But all in all, the controls were not horrible, just a little clunky and imprecise. Same goes for the character movement. I suggest always having auto run on because it's just easy to escape certain situations and you don't really have to remember as much. And also, when you can, keep it in first person because yeah, the aiming is a little clunky, but in first person view you have a lot more control with walking and turning. With the graphics, I must say I didn't really mind them. Yeah, it isn't the best, and usually HD remasters that aren't like the Crash Bandicoot remaster type games where they build an entirely new game from scratch with a better coat of paint won't always look the best. But you can still enjoy the aesthetic of the towns and areas, and considering that the game came out in 2005 and wasn't really talked about or fixed up until recently, I think it's holding up. Personally, I think that Oddworld's next project is definitely remaster this game 100%. The same they did for Abe's Odyssey back in 2014, because I am a really big fan of the company's work and their games, and I think their next project should be remastering this game, but only after Soulstorm comes out. My god, I want this game. Now, about the game art. I think the same way about the art in this game as I do for all their games. I love it. I honestly have nothing against any of the character art and the scenery. I think, like most of their games, they did a really good job. The way they made Stranger look like a badass bounty hunter, and they managed to make that obvious, really shows how complex their characters really are. The townsfolk have a very simple, repetitive design in the voice and the looks, and I am not bothered by that one bit. I think going for that comedic look to the characters gives the game more character. Even the enemies look cool and work well with the dusty, rugged, outback setting of the game. Of course, I'm talking about the enemies in the first bit of the game. The second bit says, "Your repetitive bullshit. We're going quirky mode, woo!" and decides to go all Game of Thrones on us for no reason. But that is a really fun part of the game, and everything looks really cool anyway. The snow falling and the raiding in the background really makes the game feel less like a game and more like a movie. I think they made the right choice making the game more captivating to the player. I mean, I certainly enjoyed it. The towns themselves all look different and all have their own characteristics. For example, the first town is very simple and basically like the town you build in Toy Story 3, the game. That's real. Anyway, and the other towns get more complex as the game goes on, and I find that really cool because I don't want every town to look the same because that'll just get boring. But yeah, overall I think the art style is very consistent and is just appealing. Yeah, alright, I think it's time to wrap it up now. Roll the transition. In all seriousness, I think this game is phenomenal and I highly recommend this game to everyone. For the nostalgic feel for me, down to the actual gameplay, I think that Oddworld Inhabitants did a great job making this game, then making it a little better looking. Alright, time for the scores. For gameplay mechanics, 9 out of 10. Storyline, 7 out of 10. Graphics, 6 out of 10. Art style, 9 out of 10. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for watching my review of Stranger's Wrath, one of my favourite games so far. If you can't tell, I really enjoyed playing this game and I want other people to play it as well. So without further ado, thank you all once again for watching. Please join the Discord, follow my Instagram, links will be in the description, and please take care.